Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Time to bring some focus to your favorite and not so favorite geeky films. Cam here and welcome back to Cam in Focus. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to Geek News Now and follow us on social media, and hit up metallicdicegames.com and use the code GNN at checkout for 10% off of your purchase. All your tabletop gaming needs can be found right there. Or if you'd rather go for some awesome geeky apparel, head over to rippedapparel.com and use the code GNN10. That's GNN10 at checkout for 10% off of your purchase from that website. Here we go. Okay, does anyone remember Titan AE? This was director Don Bluth's first foray into science fiction space stuff. It had an all-star cast, fantastic and realistic animation, all the makings of something great. Why didn't we get more stuff like this after its release? Oh. Yeah, this movie went through development hell, as well as the shutdown of Fox Animation Studios not long after its release, which I won't elaborate on here because so many other YouTubers have discussed it in great detail. It ended up being a box office flop with next to zero marketing, and unfortunately the future of animated science fiction suffered greatly for it. But what I will say is that I think this movie is criminally underrated and doesn't get nearly as much love as I think it deserves. So first off, this is definitely one of Bluth's more violent films. Yeah, his other works like Nim and American Tail had some dark imagery and themes, but this one has people getting shot at, blood and guts, and...
Why is this happening to me? The red dog, please, you stupid! Ah! Hi, they went right down here. They came in my kitchen and they... Bullseye!
Good God, straight up murder? And the film opens with a pretty hefty body count, especially for a PG film. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people get blown away in the opening, and it really sets the tone for this film. This isn't your average kid's science fiction movie. It strives to be a little something more, and I can't appreciate it enough for that. The pacing is kind of breakneck. It tends to jump from one scene to the next, and there isn't much time given to the characters to build their relationships. There are deleted scenes that help a bit, but this movie really could have done with maybe an extra 15 minutes or so of the characters really interacting and getting to know each other. It culminates in a romance and a twist near the third act that I won't spoil, but they just don't feel earned. There wasn't enough emotional foundation built between the characters for it to feel as dramatic as the film wants it to be. But what this film does do really well is create a universe that feels lived in and tangible, with characters who consequently feel like they have lived in it. It ditches the typical sci-fi crutch of having to take a bunch of time out to explain the universe and the aliens that inhabit it and why everything is the way it is. I'm just glad that they didn't go the route of having the galaxy be under some kind of commonwealth, because that's totally not a trope we've seen enough of, right? Right? Instead, we're put into a setting that establishes itself through its characters, and that was a very smart move on the part of the writers. It goes without saying for a Don Bluth film, but the animation is absolutely spectacular. The characters are extremely dynamic in their movements and expressions without seeming cartoony. This was one of the first films that really worked to blend traditional hand-drawn animation with CGI, and honestly, for the most part, I think it worked exceptionally well. Yeah, there are a couple of less than stellar-looking shots, but for the most part, it does hold up quite well. It especially works for the Dredge, which are an alien race composed of materialized energy, so the CG works in making them look otherworldly and menacing. The casting for this movie honestly really works for me. Matt Damon as Kale comes off a little flat sometimes, but in the context of his character being an edgy and angsty young man, his aloofness seems fitting. Bill Pullman and Drew Barrymore are great, but honestly, John Leguizamo as Goon is just...
Does this look familiar? Do you know what it is? Neither do I. I made it last night in my sleep. Apparently I used Gindrogak, highly unstable. I put a button on it. Yes, I wish to press it, but I'm not sure what will happen if I do.
Oh come on, how can you not love it? Every character is charming in their own way, and their ragtag camaraderie reminds me a lot of Firefly, which is a huge plus in my opinion. The story gets some flack for being derivative, and I get it, but where this film lacks in story, it makes up for in spectacle and outstanding care given to each shot. Every frame is just loaded with meticulous nuance, and the cinematography is honestly outstanding. Would you still call it cinematography in an animated film? I don't know, but you know what I'm trying to say. When you're in deep space or flying through a nebula cloud, you truly feel the vast scale of everything, and some shots had my jaw on the floor. Like here, why does the scraping of the cloud cause a concussive blast? freaking cares? It looks awesome! Or how about in the Tigran ice rings? Chunks of ice the size of planets crashing into each other? When's the last time we've seen something like that? This film really pushed the boundaries of the kind of spectacle we should have come to expect from science fiction in terms of just the monumental scale of everything. Is the pacing rushed? Yes. Is the story lackluster? It can be. But you know what? Titan AE is still a fun, thrilling, animated sci-fi movie that should not be forgotten. It's an ambitious flick that really deserves more praise than it got, and if you ever have the chance, check it out for yourselves. Or if you'd rather read about it, there was a novelization released based on the movie that gives a whole lot more insight into the characters and especially the Dredge. I'm not going to spoil anything, but their backstory is honestly really fascinating, so check it out if you haven't. Well, that's all I got for you today. I really hope that you do check out Titan AE if you haven't seen it already. It's not a groundbreaking film by any means, but it is a fun science fiction adventure that audiences of all ages could find some appreciation in. Have you already seen it? What'd you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Geek News Now to keep up with all of our content. Follow us on social media, links for everything in the description below. Have a wonderful day, everybody.